Hello and welcome to the Monk Reads No Sleep. Today we have Don't Blink. Do you know how hard it is to not blink? No, seriously. How many times do you think the average person blinks in 1 minute? How about a day? I'll give you the answer. Roughly 15,000 to 20,000 times. That's 15 to 20 times per minute for the entire time you're awake. Granted, that's the automatic number when you're not thinking about it. Maybe you'd argue that it's less if you're trying to blink less. But do you know how hard it is to continuously focus on not blinking? Pretty damn hard. That's why the staring contest exists. The average person can only go 1 to 2 minutes without blinking maximum, and that's not nearly long enough. Because if it's hunting you, even 2 minutes between blinks won't give you enough time to get away. It's hunting me now, and I don't have long. I'm typing this with my eyes closed to prevent me from blinking. Occasionally there's a benefit from working a desk job where you type all day, and your fingers having sufficient muscle memory to type with your eyes closed is apparently one of them. Maybe this sounds like the solution to you. After all, you can't blink if your eyes are closed. But you can't keep your eyes closed forever. Even if you try, your reflexes will thwart you eventually. Your focus will slip for an instant, and your eyes will flicker open. By the time you shut them again, it counts as a blink. I've closed my eyes almost constantly for the last 2 hours since I realized it was hunting me. I guess I'm lucky to have realized it at all. Most people don't. By the time they see it and know it's after them, it's too late. If it's close enough to be in sight, another few minutes of blinks is all it will take for it to reach you. It gets closer every time you blink. That's 15 to 20 steps per minute. Even if you run, hell, even if you drive, you blink enough that it will catch up. You can't drive with your eyes closed. Although, honestly, crashing into a tree might be a better way to die than what it does to you when it reaches you. Planes don't work either. I saw someone try. But it isn't human. It's not restricted by airline tickets or physics. It simply appeared on the plane and was all the way down the aisle in 10 blinks. I found out about it years ago by accident. I saw it catch someone in a crowded nightclub. I thought the person was on drugs at first. She was screaming about a monster chasing her and how it was getting closer each time she opened her eyes. And then I saw it catch her, and it was terrible. I think it chooses its next victim by proximity, although it seems to wait a day or so to start the chase. I didn't realize that at first. It was years later before I saw it again. There were a lot of people in that club after all. It could have gone after any one of them. In time, I began to think it was a hallucination. Why wouldn't I? The effects of strobe lights and drinking seemed more likely than what I'd seen. But then I saw it on that plane. As soon as it appeared, I recognized it. That poor man was in shock. I think he was confident the plane would stop it. He was wrong. He didn't react quickly enough to shut his eyes or stop blinking, and it caught him in seconds. That's when I figured it out. It was a work trip. I was on the plane next to a group of coworkers, and one of them turned out to be its next unlucky target. She died 2 days later in a hotel room. The scene was horrifying. The state of the body made it clear what it had done to her. Another coworker died when we got back the next day. It was in his house. He sent us all a frantic text message before he died. He'd realized that it was blinking that let it move closer. He told us not to blink if it came after us next. He sent the message with his eyes closed, he said. But I guess he opened them eventually because he was decimated, his remains found the next morning. I tried researching it after that. I couldn't find anything that looks like it online. You'd think people would have shared stories of it if they'd seen something like that. But maybe they're scared doing so would make them the target. Maybe it does. Or maybe it has a way of wiping all references to itself. I think it likes the fear of being unknown. After all, if people knew what it was sooner, there'd be a lot less blinking when you saw it. The time it takes for a victim to realize that it only moves when you blink is the time it uses to get close. By then, it doesn't matter that you've realized you're already screwed. Or maybe somehow it affects the minds of those who've seen it, warps them so they can't put their thoughts into words. At least until it's too late. Until you're the next victim. I know I've never tried, but I don't think I could have written this out before now. I think some force may have stopped me. The closest thing I could find online were the weeping angels from the television show Doctor Who. I never watched that show. It doesn't look anything like angels. It's so much worse. I thought we might be in the clear after my second coworker's death. His house is nowhere near our workplace, and he doesn't live near the rest of us either. It seems to have worked for a while. I practiced not blinking just in case. But a year passed, and I didn't see any signs of it. I'm sure it killed lots of people in the meantime. If the timeline I've seen is any indication, it catches someone every 2 days or so. That's roughly 180 people. Yet I couldn't help but be relieved that it at least wasn't someone I knew, or me. Until yesterday morning. Went out and met my brother at a park near his house. He called me and asked if we could meet up in half an hour. He sounded frantic and wouldn't explain why, so of course I said yes. I realized my mistake when I got there. He was standing across the lawn, watching my brother. My brother was already in bad shape. His face and hands were bloody. When I got closer, I realized that he gouged his own eyes out. You can't blink if you've destroyed your own eyes. But I was still watching him. He begged me to help. He said he could still sense it there. He turned his head in my direction when he heard my voice, and then stepped forward. He turned back when he heard the footstep, then back to me. Another step. It was treating his head turns as blinks. With no way for him to tell exactly where it was, there was no way to keep it at bay indefinitely. I tried to tell him. It didn't matter. Any turn of his head brought it closer. There were other people around. Most saw what was happening and quickly turned away. Maybe they'd seen it before and wanted to avoid being its next target. Maybe they had no idea what it was, but just didn't want to be involved in a creepy situation in the middle of the park. Someone listened to my plea to call 911. I called them too. Nothing mattered. The cops came, picked him up off the ground, and loaded him into an ambulance. Even his head movements as they helped him walk away apparently counted as blinks. I guess when the victim no longer has eyes, his rules bend a bit. He didn't make it to the hospital. I heard it attacked him in the ambulance. The paramedics jumped out, pale as a ghost, covered in his blood. They'd never seen anything like it, they said. Happened too fast for them to do anything. Obviously, I was heartbroken. But there was still a large portion of my brain dedicated solely to the hope that it wasn't hunting me next. No sign of it yesterday. Didn't mean anything, though. It usually takes a break for a day or two, lets its next victim put a little distance between him and it. Maybe it needs some sort of cool down period, too. No sign of it this morning either. I started to let my hopes creep up. After all, it could have chosen anyone in that park. The cops, the bystanders, the paramedics who'd been right next to my brother when it caught him. A few hours ago, I realized my hopes were in vain. After all my near misses, my turn had finally come. It was coming after me, I was at the office. Suddenly, I glanced out the window and saw it outside. In the street, it was watching me. I know I should have stayed there and closed my eyes immediately, but I was not about to die in my shitty office. Do you know how hard it is to not blink, even when you've practiced not blinking? Even when you know it's after you and it moves closer every time you blink. Still very hard. I left my car in the parking lot at work, took the bus home so I could keep my eyes closed. I only opened them a few times to step onto the bus, to get off, to lock the door, to find my computer. But it was enough. Even a few blinks lets it get dangerously close. My eyes are still closed. I haven't opened them once since I sat down at my computer to type this. It's in the room with me. Probably only 5 blinks away. I can sense it behind me, watching me. I know I don't have long. Could sit here for hours, but I'll eventually open my eyes. Just an instant of focus is all it takes. Eventually I'll get sleepy, and then instincts will take over. Best case, I'd last a few days. But even then, it will catch me soon enough. Nowhere and no one can help me. I can practically feel its anticipation. It's ready. It knows it's got me. Blinding myself won't work. I learned that from my brother. All it does is allow it to bend its own rules. At least this way I know it's still bound by blinking. But I don't want to sit here, and I don't want to die either. I'm typing this up before I try my last idea. One final effort to stop it. I thought about it a lot, and I think it might work. It requires me to open my eyes and keep them open, but I can do it. Hopefully 2 minutes between blinks is long enough. I'm going to leave this here. My hope is that my plan works, and that I can finish this story immediately after with an update on how to stop it. If not, I guess this will never be shared anywhere. Someone will find my computer eventually. In that case, I tried. I feel it watching me. I think it knows I'm about to try something. All I can do is hope to God that it works. Wish me luck. Here it goes. I really don't know what I was so worried about earlier. So much fear for no reason. I think I was wrong. I'm not sure it moves through blinking at all. I'm not even sure it hurts people. I think maybe I imagined all the murders. I think it actually may be friendly, despite what it looks like, and that if you should see it, you should definitely blink as much as possible. After all, don't you know how hard it is to not blink? Thank you for listening. All credit for writing goes to GoNavy27 of the website Reddit, of the subreddit r/No Sleep. Thank you, and I'll see you next time.